I have one which is Elena Vassilieva. She is a
Mhm.
agile coach living in LA right now. She is also a filmmaker, so she's doing documentary
Wow.
movies, and she's really great at it. So if anyone from the listeners are thinking about documentary movies, Elena is the right person, and she likes to do things very differently, looking at things from very creative angle. So I would recommend you to talk to her. And
Mhm.
the other great friend. So
In this interview, Elena Vassilieva talks about one, a prize that she won at the Festival of Cannes. Two, the daily meeting that she does with herself and why she does it and why you should do it too. And three, what does it mean to be kind to your team members? I'm Yves Hanul from Who's Agile. My pronouns are he and him. Welcome to my channel. You see a lot of agilists around me on this screen. If you want to hear me interviewing, please click that subscribe button because these are the people that I've invited so far. If you think I'm missing people, let me know in the comments. And that like button, well, if you liked today's interview, don't forget to click it. And Elena is the first person that I didn't know before I'm doing the interview. Yet I'm looking forward to it as she's combining agile coaching, innovation, VR, and video. How more awesome can someone be? Welcome, Elena. And well, let me click the right buttons. So, welcome, Elena. And well, what is interesting for me or important for me to know about you, for me and the other people here? So, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm very happy to be here and introduce myself because when people hear like, oh, agile coach, or agile practitioner, or somebody who've been in the agile way of working and coaching and preaching and training, it's like a kind of stereotype. And when they asking me what you are doing, I'm saying, well, I'm provoking, I'm disturbing, I'm trying to challenge the status quo. And I'm doing this by applying coaching skills, leadership skills, and helping people to evoke and trigger something inside themselves, which help them to adapt. I really like the topic of your podcast. Who is agile? Who is agile? Everyone. You don't have to be certified agile coach or trainer or practitioner with all these badges. You need to be embracing openness and adaptivity of the world around us.
I like that because indeed the idea of the whole video series is about, well, is to show insight to how people are and how people are who are having an agile mindset. And indeed, I think much more people are agile than we sometimes realize. So that's well, I think we feel already very connected at that level. So that brings me to that first question. What is something that people usually don't know about you but has influenced you in who you are?
I think, again, coming back to what I just said, people look at me just based on like Scrum Alliance certified agile coach, like agile trainer practitioner. I'm running a lot of certified agile leadership trainings. What they don't know about me when they first check my profile, that I'm very creative person. And the way how I'm coach and start conversation with the people, it's always based on some sort of creativity, which is embedded in the coaching framework, what I'm using. I call this immersive leadership. And I set up framework long time ago, I would say in the sense of timing when we're now talking about metaverse, which is something which is exist, it's real deal. Back to the time when people started to use Twitter, nobody believed that VUCA world is real. And I keep my first, and I used to work for Twitter back to times when it was a small company, and I keep my first tweet which says, oh, VUCA is real. It's a real deal. Now we're saying metaverse is real, it's real deal. And for this period of time, since early 2010, or yeah, it was early 2010, when I started to think about creating immersive creative experience to connect with people who want to discover something about themselves. And nobody knows how to do that because we had just conversation. It was just spoken face to face conversation. What we started to practice and developed to try different mediums, starting with tweets, creating some social communities, and technology support us, but it's all about social entrepreneurship. How we can create and sustain connection between the people. What people don't know about me, that I've been one of the pioneers who started to create content and including coaching and agile content in virtual reality space. They also don't know about me that I'm documentary producer and virtual reality producer. And one of my documentary actually won the prize on Cannes Festival. It was back in 2019. I was very proud about this. I was bragging all around.
I can imagine, yes. So that is something to be proud of, indeed. That is very nice. Well, and that kind of brings me kind of automatically to that second question, and I'm not even sure how well it applies to you, because, but that's the typical one that I'm asking in Who's Agile. If you had not been to in IT, what would have become of you? And some people think that that means, oh, if you haven't been a developer, but for me, it's more the broader space. Like if you would not have been using technology and something, is there something that you think you would have become? Were there some things in your life that would make you go somewhere else?
I would kind of think about this from the different perspective. Being
Mm.
in IT, which means like working to develop technology, and being with technology. For me, it's a slightly different things. I'm
Hmm.
always with technology. I am pioneer of using everything. I probably one of the first early adapters to use Apple's iPod, like which was like grandfather of the first phones. I was one of the first one who got a laptop back in the time when I was in Russia, which was like long time ago. And I would say I'm always using technology as something which supports connectivity, conversation. I'm biggest fan of 5G. I'm biggest fan of the mobile internet. I had like documentary about young millennials, actually even Generation Z, Aboriginal or Aleutian people, like people from northern part of the Alaska, and how internet and connectivity um, actually made them visible, made them show up to the world as a community and make everybody connected because of the hip hop songs, what they put in their native language. I'm now working on another documentary about Aboriginal, like millennials, who is actually promoting like old traditions of their generations for the hip hop. Like if it would not be for me being in IT, I'm always would find the way to use technology. Uh, in the past, I was also professionally trained musician. Um, Probably I would be in more promoting technology for the music, which is actually I'm doing.
Well, you're yes, like you say, your documentaries, or you're showing people the world with the technology, and well, partially is it with IT teams as an agile coach, but also about hip hop or about other things. So it's it's interesting in that sense. You're actually doing maybe both worlds, or you're in multiple worlds. So
Yeah,
that's
this is
that's
why it's kind of tricky question for me because I'm
mhm.
stepping one foot on one world and another one on another.
That makes you really interesting to indeed to have that conversation with you. Well, and that brings me almost automatically to that next question. In being in these worlds, what is for you your biggest challenge, and why is that a good thing for you? Because I like to have that balance part of that question.
My biggest challenge for me personally, it's to have courage and to keep being courageous to open up for the new things. And by courage, I mean my personal courage to connect to unknown. I think it's like for everyone, it's one way or another. But for whatever reason, I feel more responsible because I'm working with people who sharing trust with me and who sharing their being who are vulnerable with me, who is connecting to me to the sounding board to find their own solution for their own problem. And it's all happening in this immersive virtual world where you can so easily click leave button and people disappeared. And if you don't have trust, nothing, you cannot even, you don't have to leave the room. You don't have to put any poker face. You just click, turn your screen off, leave the button, and you're gone. And you lost this fragile connection. And for me, every time when I'm starting this virtual conversations, I'm like putting my courage and say how I can be confident that I'm still interested to people. They would be talking to me. They would find something what they take away from our conversation. Why it's a good thing? Because it keeps me moving. It keeps me kind of rediscover, constantly redefine myself. And I think it's very, very important. It helps me to believe in myself that I can make it, I can do it, I can keep this very, very fragile and precious connection in this virtual world.
It's yeah, I like the way you said, because it's like it keeps you moving, and then yeah, that is the interesting part indeed, especially if you want to be forefront and working with new technologies. Keep on moving. That helps in many different ways, of course. Um, um, the other question I have, or that next question, is what drives you? And well, with a lot of other people, if I know them, I already know that they are driven or not driven. Because I don't know you, I find it harder, but at the same time, not, because I already feel, also in the pre-talk that we had just before we started, I could already feel your passion, and I could already feel basically your energy. So I'm really interested to know: are you a driven person, and if so, what drives you?
I would say humanity and humility. My drive is understanding of connection between humanity and humility. And the question what I'm asking myself every day, it's like kind of my morning meditation. How can I invite clarity and calm in my life? What could I do today? One simple thing to invite clarity and calm in my life. And I'm practicing this every day, and every day it's different. I keep my
Mhm.
journal. What I do? Well, some days I feel I'm so good. I'm sharing this because everything when I'm practicing, it's kind of I'm getting energy, what I'm sharing with others. And
Mhm.
sometimes I'm so bad. I'm freaking out. I'm just like, gosh, everything is falling apart. What could I do? But this connection between clarity and calmness and how it's connect people when they understand themselves. I'm human and I'm humble and I'm vulnerable and I'm just who I am and I don't want to be anybody else. Even if I'm in the board meeting or even if I'm doing presentation for like executives, look at me. It's me. It's not my avatar. It's not my corporate picture. It's me myself. And I'm
And
happy when people understand this.
And I can imagine that on some days you're not as calm as you would want to be, and not as, like you say, the humble part. So there's multiple parts that is, yeah, like you say, thinking about it on a daily basis is, yeah, it's also humbling because sometimes you notice I'm not where I want to be, in a sense. And that makes you indeed very human and very visible to the world. So that's I really like that answer because it shows again authenticity about what you try to be, showing up like you are. So that is very nice.
We talked about this virtual space, what we live before this podcast.
Hmm.
And I think it's one of the benefits of being in the virtual space that now people can show up for who they are. You can see dogs, you can see their living rooms, you can see kids, you can hear the voices, you kind of immerse into their inner world. And you might be in the very, very like high level meeting and running some workshops, and just suddenly you see somebody like kids waving to you, or cats jumping on the laptop keyboard. It's amazing because it's how we can see now that we are human behind this corporate job or positions. I'm
Yeah,
advising. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I'm advising people, advising whom I'm coaching, that when you create presentation about yourself, just put some pictures of what is your hobby, who you are as a real person, not just statement of your professional achievements or just not all these licenses what you have, but put some funny picture about you as a kid or your kids.
Yeah, I like that because it's indeed it's well, for me, I don't believe much in work life balance, but much more in work life fusion. And like you say, you show up in a meeting as a whole person. You're much better. Um, it's one of the things I recently talked about in one of these conversations as well. Earlier conversation with someone, like before COVID. If there would be a kid showing up in a professional meeting, we would all excuse ourselves, and we could all will kind of ignore it and kind of uh, do as if this didn't happen. And now I think in the last 2 years we're much more as a whole world realizing, oh, but that's real life, that's reality. And so if a kid comes into a meeting, we might just kind of invite him or her into the meeting and ask a few questions, take, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds, maybe a minute to have a short conversation, and then again we move on, because we all know this is our world. We're all living at home with children, with pets, and with whatever. Like you say, I like that because this is the real life. We're working in a pandemic from home. Yeah, that is a different kind of world than 2 years ago. That's
I
for
like
sure.
the term what my one of my teacher and mastery mentor Christopher Avery he introduced work-life integrity, and he is saying
Hmm.
like I'm concerned about work-life integrity because this is something which now we need to master and practice as a responsibility. It's our responsibility now to think about our work-life integrity, which is different than work-life balance.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I love Christopher. He's a lot of wisdom that he shares with a lot of people. I haven't interviewed him, but he's on my backlist as well of one of the people to interview him. Because indeed the whole responsibility process and everything is teaching people and learn actually that he discovered himself and that he still is discovering and sharing with the world. Okay, yeah, this is about responsibility, indeed, the integrity between the two parts. I like that. I hadn't heard that, the word work-life integrity. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I
Thank
will
you for sharing that.
yeah, I will give all full credit to Christopher because when he introduced this to us, I'm part of his mastery circle.
Mhm.
We were like, wow, this is it has meaning.
Yes. Uh, I definitely need to talk with him about that. It's very interesting to hear this. Okay, I want to go to the next question. What do you consider yourself your biggest achievement?
My biggest achievement, honestly, that people reach out to me and ask to coach them. And they're asking, can you coach us? Can you coach me? And I think it's my biggest achievement because I think it's such a privilege. Somebody reach out to you, not for the advice, not for telling me what to do, but could you coach me how to deal with this challenge? And I think I went long journey to to earn this privilege to serve people by coaching. I'm a CF professional coach. I'm trying to engage with the community or different communities. Uh, I'm trying to be like the one who is balancing this controversial how we coaching robots and humans all together. And now with metaverse, it's one of the biggest topic. How we can coach robots, how we can coach human, and what is actually this integrity of coaching people in robots ecosystem. Well, I think it's a privilege, and I think this is why I think it's my biggest achievement.
I like that because I like the way you say also the privilege and indeed because people are asking you into their world and like you say it's coaching is totally different than teaching and totally different than advising really yeah helping people find the better version of themselves I would say in a way and that's when people ask you this that's really a privilege I like that answer thank you for sharing this. So for me, one of the things that I've changed with the video edition, I'm asking also now for people, okay, do you have some personal agility tip? Because for me, I think when we talk about who's agile, I noticed over the years that many people have some kind of personal practices and things that they do themselves that we don't always talk about. We keep forgetting that we're helping people in an organization but we usually have some personal practices so that's why I'm interested to know what are some of your personal practices that you would like to share with us.
My personal agility tips, it's kind of exercise, or I would say meditation trigger, which is not so much into meditation, but observation loop trigger, which I am like introducing to the people I work with. What
Mhm.
I do, I'm asking, and this is my tip, I blocking my calendar for 5 minutes every day, somewhere before lunch. And I'm going through this loop of observing my body, just focusing on my body. What is my body? How do I feel? I observe how I feel my fingers, my jaws, my, I don't know, whole posture. What is my body doing at the moment? Then next minute, what do I feel? What kind of feelings I'm observe? Then what do I think? What do I think right now? What is my thinking process? And I'm ending, what do I want? Right now in this situation when I'm talking, what do I want? And this loop, I'm doing this very fast. Like uh, when I started to do that, it was like 5 minutes, and I would definitely overdoing this. Now it's like 1 minute. What do I
Mhm.
observe about my body? What do I feel? What do I think? And what do I want in this situation? And it helps me a lot. Now, I couldn't even imagine how many times in the very challenging situation, some, I don't know, crisis solving situation, when I focused on this moment, what do I observe, feel, think, and what do I want? It's immediately I came to calm and clarity, and I invited calm and clarity in my life. I think it's a great invitational exercise.
And you do that on a daily basis. Do you do it just once a day or multiple times a day
No, I'm
or
doing just once per day, and it's
Mhm.
scheduled. I have reminder. I have 5 minutes, which is meeting with Elena.
Mhm.
And some people might interest be. curious, who is Elena you meet with? And I say, it's me. I'm meeting myself.
I like also that you, yeah, like you say, you're meeting yourself. It's a very nice way to do that. Um, I've noticed that a lot of agilists have indeed something in their agenda on, well, maybe not on a daily basis, but at least on a weekly basis, to think about themselves, to take some time for themselves. Um, I haven't heard many people who called it meeting with and then their first name. I like that idea as well, because this is, it feels like the core of what you're explaining. It's really meeting yourself, or the core of yourself, and taking it on a daily basis. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that's, I haven't done it myself, so I'm really curious. I will probably practice this in the next weeks to see if it brings me as much as it brings you. But it inspires me to do something similar. Um,
I wanted to add to this now when you are sharing your thoughts. One of the challenging questions, what I'm going through the loop of finding or discovering the answer, it's how do we invite confidence in our life? How can I invite confidence to my life? How could I be confident to myself? I'm working with a lot of people who start the conversation saying, I'm not confident. I don't have enough skills. Like, I'm starting this project, I'm working in agile with agile teams, and I don't have skills. I'm not confident in myself. And as a coach, I'm going through the discovery. What is a confidence for this person? Is it lack of skills or something else? A lot of, and I'm not like person who will be pushing on gender or social diversity, but a lot of confidence come from the background, who we are. And lack or like absence in some sort of confidence being who you are, it's what create this lack of confidence in the virtual space. And I don't want to complicate the subject, but I would say we need to see ourselves for who we are. And this small exercise helping us to have a clarity and calm in being ourselves. We cannot do it all at once and say, yesterday I wasn't confident about myself. Today I learned this new Scrum skills or practice
Yep.
retrospective and I'm confident. No, we
Mhm.
need to do simple, small things which will add as time goes by, like one step at a time, confidence in who you are.
I like that, and it's well, it's a very particular skill if people are looking for that. Um, I wonder, did when you talk with people, is it always confidence? Is it sometimes changing as people do? Is Are there multiple of these kind of questions? Because when you talked for yourself, you didn't mention confidence. This was more about the thinking, the feeling, what you want. And what I'm hearing is that you advise for a lot of people to work or to start with confidence. Are there other similar questions, or just that one?
Well, confidence, this is like challenge or lack of confidence. And this is challenge which is measured, could be measured and measured for the individual scaling. Like you might be very confident person last year. And this year, because of all these challenges of environment around you, your level of confidence is changing. But this is your measurement of confidence. What people don't realize that as they getting like older or aging or moving through the certain life experience, their level of confidence should be measured from the different perspective. Like when I was like young student, I was very confident in my math skills. Now I'm not confident in my math skills because of what? Am I not smart enough? Perhaps not the this is not the point. I'm measuring my confidence level on the different scale. And this is one of the application of this exercise, looking inside yourself, observing yourself, and actually clearly asking, what do you want? Do you want to be confident, or do you want to measure your level of confidence? It doesn't matter. You're confident. Even little piece of confidence helps you to good to feel good about yourself, to think better about yourself, and to want more. But we need to observe ourselves. Like being on the podcast, am I confident? Mm, probably not. But am I scared? Probably a little bit. But what do I want? I want to do that because I want to be connected to people who might listen to this podcast.
Yeah, I like that because it you also show well, you look very confident when you talk. You're very you talk in well, the way you talk. But that doesn't mean that internally you might be confident or not, and that's what a lot of people don't always see when they hear people talk. Are they confident or not? And just making people realize to think about it. I like what you said. Maybe it's just a little bit, but maybe that little bit is better than yesterday. And I liked what you said about maths because indeed I don't use maths at this moment as much in my life as I did when I was like 15 because then I had to do probably a lot of exercises in school. So my confidence is probably a lot lower for these. And at the same time, my knowledge is probably has increased, but I still don't use it that much. So I feel less confident about my math. So I like that you take it into the time or into the large time because that's really I would say important to realize that when we talk about these things. So thank you for sharing this. It's yeah, this is definitely something I will think for a while about how that works out in my life. So I'll this is probably what I will think about when I do practice this exercise. So definitely a lot to think about. The next thing, and yeah, I think you have a lot of experience there, but so what I'm asking everyone is okay, we now into 2 years into the pandemic. Some people have never worked remotely. I think you had much more experience remotely with everything that you shared already. Is there something you want to teach people or that you say, this is what I've learned and you want to share with us? Something about working remotely?
Well, I definitely worked remotely long time, and long time before COVID even forced us to do that. I'm very happy that because of COVID, with all these tragedies, what we're dealing with in pain, but I'm very happy that technology like just bloomed to develop amazing tools, which is much more better than WebEx or Skype or all these troubles what we went through. I was like in the beta testing, like early adopter of Zoom, when nobody even know what is Zoom. Or before that, blue jeans technology, what now it's in forgotten. Or before that, when I worked for Cisco networking system, I was like one of the testers for this 360 panoramic video conferencing room, which allow you to create like presence with people all over around the world. It was amazing. But now it's simple. Now it makes everything magically happen by clicking. You can share a lot of things. And it became extremely different to create and to sustain trust. Like, I don't want to mess up with like serious thing here, but the level of trust in the social online groups, the level of trust in the social platform is decreasing tremendously.
Mm.
Friend of mine, Michael Delamaza, he shared with me the Trust 10 reports. And number one is distrust is now socially default emotion. I was struck that distrust is now number one social emotion. Why? because we are completely lost in this virtual space. And biggest challenge right now for this social connection, what we are trying to build and promote, and especially challenge for people like me working with leaders, with agile leadership, coaching, it's to sustain trust, emotional trust. This is what I learned, and this is what honestly I'm trying to unpack and to see how now we are going to move to metaverse and what it's actually would require for us to maintain and hold this trust. My book, which I'm reading, and it's just something what my companion, life companion, it's The Power of Kindness. Pietro Ferrucci,
Mhm.
The Power of Kindness. I think it's an amazing book. And I think that positive psychology, like psychology of joy and happiness, and all the school, it's just something what helps us now to deal with challenge of the lack of emotional trust.
That's yeah. Thank you, because it links back your previous answer. I had some practical uh, problem there, but yeah, thank you for sharing that, because that's indeed the kind of book that is interesting. I haven't read it, but it's on my list as well, about thinking about this whole situation about trust, also, like you say, in the virtual world. So bringing that back and thinking about that at a higher level. So that is interesting. Um, if you think about that book, because I haven't read it, is there anything particular that you learned from this book, or that you want to share from that book?
The book was written a while ago, about 20
Mhm.
years ago. I discovered the book about 10 years ago when I was looking for something which can justify the smile, justify the joy. Because in the corporate environment, especially like a while ago, it wasn't socially accepted to show like positivity
Oceans.
in the sense of smiling or joy or sharing something which is joyful. We all been in the structure of the process and protocols. And when we're starting to think about what motivates people? Food. You bring donuts, you bring pizza, you experience the joy of sharing this with your team, and motivation, it's just motivation level of trust is the outcomes of this motivation, like skyrocketing. What else motivates people? Like music, something beautiful. What helps people to develop this trust? Kindness. Well, it's always been like defined as a soft skills outside of the work environment. How we can bring the psychology of kindness and positivity into the work environment, into the corporate board meeting rooms, into our program roadmap planning activities. How we can open up people to be human and not robots, to share a piece of kindness. What does it mean to be kind to your team member? Is it like doing offering pair programming or offering let me review your code? Or is it doing something else? Just asking, how are you? Like doing this emotional check-in protocols. What is your state of emotional being right now? This is how I, in this book, it's very, I would say, instruction, structured instruction. What you need to consider to think about emotional connection, emotional trust. What are the building blocks of this? I'm a big fan of Pietro Ferrucci and
I
positive
like it.
psychology.
I like that, because indeed, like you say, in a lot of corporations, we are struggling with emotions, both positive and negative. Sometimes some enterprises, they don't like people that are too much smiling, because you should work hard and you're not allowed to enjoy yourself at work, which is very strange to me. And in some organizations, it's the opposite. Everybody should be happy. Why? Well, no. If today, for whatever reason, I'm sad because something happened, that's also real emotion. So bringing the right emotion and making it visible, and of course, preferable for me, a positive emotion, but yeah, the real emotions. So bringing that into the corporation and understanding that that's again about what you talked about earlier, what Christopher talks about, the fact that we are it's real, it's a real person, and it's connected, so that that is, yeah, I feel connection to a lot of your answers, so that's very nice to see. That brings me to that for me, one of the most interesting questions is that, what question do you think I should ask you, and what's the answer? Is there something that you really like to talk about that isn't in these standard questions?
I might think about today's date, which is February 1st, 2022, which is the new Chinese or Lunar New Year, the year of the
Mm,
water tiger. And this morning I was thinking, wow, it's now definitely New Year. And my question to myself was, honestly, what do you want to achieve in this year of the tiger, which they said you can do a lot. It's very, very strong and definitive year when you can make things happen. What do I want to achieve? My number one goal, I wanted to finish and to release documentary, which I started last year with all this COVID restriction. And I know I will do that. It's not the question. I'll do that. Then what else? How you can stretch yourself? Why do you need this power of tiger? And I think, and as more I'm thinking about this, as my emotions getting probably stronger, that I need to do that. I honestly feel that Scrum, and I'm part of Scrum Alliance. I absolutely amazed by people of Scrum Alliance as a community. I think the message of what this new world of work means should be stronger, because Scrum Alliance, it's like, let's embrace this world. And somebody embraced and somebody not. I'm doing a lot of training now. It's not probably my sweetest spot, but I feel myself obliged to do more training. And as a Scrum Alliance coach or enthusiast, I'm doing a lot of like training, not official
mhm,
training, but not public training, but I'm now refocusing on training people on Scrum, because because I think there is not enough good trainers of Scrum outside of the Scrum Alliance. In all these Scrum courses, what people getting and all this knowledge, they coming back to me and they saying, I attended this training and this is what I know about Scrum, and it's bad, it's scared. And I
yeah.
feel defensive. I feel aggressive. I don't feel calm and confident. I
But
want
you want
to,
to be.
yes, and I want to change it. I want to train people, more people, to look at the Scrum the way I look at this, the way Zuzi look at this, the way Scrum Alliance trainers look at this, which is new world of work and all this possibility, not as a framework or tooling or something, do it this way and you'll be good and you will receive results and metrics and reports. Don't take me wrong, nothing wrong with metrics and reports, but what is wrong that one process substitute to another one without losing all this like ecosystem which support this process and influence this process. Again, not my sweet spot, not probably the goal for 2022, but I think I'm kind of own to the community, which I'm part of for years. I need to be more vocal about good Scrum and good trainings.
Hmm. So yeah, so for you that is an important part. Thank you for sharing that because indeed, I know that sometimes outside the agile world, people have some misunderstanding about agile, about Scrum, about some other things, um, and it's I think it's also a good message that they hear that there are also people inside, like you say, inside the Scrum Alliance, or that feel very much part of that that feel that there is a lot of misinformation out there, which I think, yeah, I think many of us recognize, but we don't always talk public about it. So that's good to share that knowledge as well. Thank you for doing that. Brings me to the very last question. Like, who do you think I should ask next? Who was for you a person that one or two persons that I should invite next?
You mentioned that you already invited Christopher. I think about one person whom I personally respect a lot and like and love a lot because he's amazing human and he is very passionate about his life, mindfulness and business mindfulness, agile mindfulness, then greening. And I'll share with you his contact information. I didn't talk to him, and probably it would be a surprise for him, but I know that he has really good thoughts of how we can bring this humanity and humility into the world of agile processes and tooling. And because he is very strong in leading and driving agile transformation, the way how he can compile this mindfulness and humility, I would say human approach to setting up processes and tooling, which became like agile transformation. That's amazing. I don't
Hey,
know if you
thank
know
you very much.
him, but I'll share with you.
I definitely know his name, but I don't think we've met before, so it's good. Well, we'll share the contact information after this talk. Um, brings me to well, one more question about yourself is where can people find out more about you if they want to learn more about you? Where is a good thing to learn more about you?
I think I'm very open on LinkedIn. Everything what I'm doing and everything what on my mind, I'm openly sharing on LinkedIn. I have quite good community um, within the agile and people of agile. Not so much outside of people of agile, but and separate community which related to all my documentary production and kind of cinematography. It's on Instagram. Uh, on Instagram, it's at Hava Supa, and we can share this. And LinkedIn, it's Elena Vassilieva.
Okay, I'll put the links in the show notes that people can find that back later. So thank you very much for your time. It was as wonderful as I was hoping. So I'm really grateful that Susie introduced herself to each other, and I hope that people enjoyed this as much as I did. So thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Bye
Yves.
bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Who's Agile, where the stories of agilists come to life. I hope you liked today's interview. Subscribe if you're not subscribed and want to get to know other agilists.